Hey Moritz, good to see you back in Washington, D.C. for the People's Week, right? Is it People's Week?
Thanks so much. People's Week. We're coming together from all corners of the world.
Wonderful. So, what's happening? What's new on PFM world? It looks like a lot of things are happening.
Thanks, Srini, for asking the question. Yes, always a lot of things happening. But since you're asking, there are two things that really excite me at the moment. So one, the the biannual Montreux Collaborative meeting is coming up in December. People are coming together to discuss all things around PFM, share experiences, share what's worked, what hasn't worked, and get together to just discuss, right? And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
So that's interesting. So in fact, I always was fascinated with the Montreux PFM in Health Collaborative. Now, how do you, I generally see that the interest and energy on public financial management systems is much higher in health sector when compared to practically any other sector. So why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, good question. I can't really comment on other sectors, but in health, it's really about life and death, right? So like, imagine there are PFM bottlenecks that prevent the procurement of gasoline. It means an ambulance, can't go where it needs to go, can't pick up someone who needs to be picked up, and that person is just not going to make it to the hospital in time, right? And that has real life consequences, and so we can't really afford not to be on top of the game for that. And then the other thing is that's really pressing now is that there is this change in the global aid architecture, right? That aid resources are declining, and the only actors that can fill this gap are countries themselves, right? And it's not enough to just find money for it. You also need to have the PFM underpinning so that the money is going to get spent well. Mm-hmm. So you get results for the money that's been spent, and right, so that's got to be a priority now.
That's true. Actually, we see from also PFA perspective, probably the way I look at it is that health sector is seeing, even looking at the numbers, there is a feel that on budget health sector is not sufficiently prioritized by ministries of finance, or for example, when budget cuts happen, they get a little bit more significantly on health sector. Is that also a trigger for more proactively going into, so in terms of advocacy for greater health financing, to focus on PFM in health?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really difficult to make the case for a greater budget in health if you can't show that the money that you've been given hasn't been spent well. And that's actually one of the main conclusions coming out of the recent report that we've co-authored with WHO on budget execution in health. But Srini, one question to you. Despite all of our efforts, we don't always get the receptiveness of ministries of finance and that we would like to get. Why do you think that might be the case?
That's a great question, Moritz. I don't really know whether I really have an answer, but when I reflect on it, when I speak to sectors from colleagues from health sector, the emphasis on is that health is extremely important, and it's an emergency service, and it's the investment into the future of citizens. It's a kind of an capital investment. Therefore, it needs to be prioritized. And possibly ministries of finance must be hearing a similar, although slightly different narrative from various other sectors. Education is very important, or agriculture is very important, and probably also like the return in terms of like eventually Ministry of Finance is going to do a kind of a balancing act based on government priorities, which sector should get how much. In the process, funds are always limited, finite resources and infinite demands, and they must be doing the balancing. So I do not really know whether it's underemphasized, but possibly also one would guess that health is so important that citizen will take care even if there's not enough money. So I don't know to what extent that influences in a few countries in terms of decision making, but I completely agree that actually for health, I'm so excited when I look at the kind of an Ministry of Finance energy on the PFM agenda, the kind of work Ministry of Health's energy on PFM agenda. It's not just about Ministry of Health trying to improve its PFM systems. So this realization that PFM systems are one PFM systems for the entire country and will be applicable across all sectors. So the contributions of health sector to the PFM are not just to the health sector, it's for the entire PFM, and that really excites me a lot.
Thanks for saying that. It's very kind.
And perhaps actually one thing is for sure is that the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Finance need to work very strongly, and if there is a kind of a communication gaps, language differences, terminology differences in the budget preparation, in the budget process as such between health, which actually created its own lot of I could say terms or jargon if you loosely want to use it, and PFM has its own terms and jargon. There need to be this matching that when Ministry of Finance officials and health officials talk, they talk the same language. They say they understand each other's better, and to the extent possible it is prioritized. So it's always again a finite resource, but seeing the value of investment in through the budget process, Ministry of Finance should be more likely to invest more. But the game, I would guess I'm sure you would agree, is that finance and health have to work very closely together at country level, and that's what World Bank and all other development partners, we are all trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just to add something to that is that local government will always play a key role. Right? So, they need to be looped in somewhere, somehow, right?
Absolutely. Wonderful catching up, Moritz.
Thanks so much, and good to see you.
Thank you.